And they're lamenting that housing is unaffordable, which I think most people agree it's getting there. The average house in the city of Fargo is about $300,000. When I bought my first house, it was about $100,000, $120,000. And that wasn't all that long ago. So it is becoming that way. But their fix here is they had a round table with, all the subdivisions and local leaders and those type of things to look at the problem and see what they can do to fix this problem. So again, when I look at these type of issues, the first question I always ask is there a problem? And I think that most people would agree that rent's going through the roof, mortgages are getting higher, and now we have higher inflation, we have higher interest rates for just your starter home, your basic home. So yes, there is a problem. And so the next question is, what is the problem? Okay, housing is unaffordable. That's what we're talking about here. Number 3 is what's the root cause of this? In order to fix a problem that you've identified, you might know what you're fixing. What am I trying to achieve here? What am I trying to fix? We can't really do anything about interest rates. That's not set here locally. That's a problem. They're high. We're building as fast as we can, I think, for these new homes. But the real problem I think we're trying to fix is that we have high property taxes, we have high assessments, and we're giving incentives in areas for some homes and not for other homes. I think people can understand how high property taxes would affect this and make it worse. If you look at your bill, it tells you how much you're paying every month in assessments, in property taxes, and also your principal and interest. Okay, I challenge people to look at this, because in many cases, the amount you're paying in property taxes is actually higher or more than you're paying to the principal of your loan, especially if your loan is relatively new. In those first 10 years, that's definitely the case. You're paying more in taxes than you are in principal to your house. So that's a problem. So then I've identified the problem, in my opinion, and that's that we have high taxes, high assessments, and incentives. And the incentives are bad because they inflate the value of homes. Okay, if you take my home, that's let's just say it's the average house in Fargo, $300,000 house, and you take the house in South Fargo, it's the same size, it's the same bedrooms and bathrooms. That house in South Fargo is going to be more expensive or higher in value, not because it's newer, but because you might get a 2-year tax abatement. So people are willing to pay a little bit more for a house, in many cases $15,000, $20,000 more for that new house, because, well, hey, I get an incentive to do that. So the burden's not as bad as it could be. So we're seeing an issue with existing stock being transformed into rentals, and the new stock is becoming more and more expensive because we're offering incentives. It's a classic bubble. It's an economic bubble is what that is. So what's the fix to the problem? It's less government. Okay. So the reason I was a little miffed was we have a bunch of elected officials, who part of the government, who are writing on Facebook how they're proud to be part of a roundtable of other government officials, talking about how the government can fix the problem that the government caused or started and perpetuates. Okay. You can't fix government with more government. That's not how it works. So the solution is to get out of the way. We need to dramatically decrease the amount we're special assessing. And when I mean decrease, I mean, if at all possible, we need to stop special assessing. We're basically taking out the credit card and we're putting all of this infrastructure onto a credit card with an interest rate, a high one. And it's tens of millions of dollars every single year we're doing that. We're adding to the problem. Okay. And then we're adding property taxes. This year, last year, the year before that, we increased the amount of mills we're paying in property taxes. At the same time, the value of your house went up, which means you're paying hundreds of dollars more over the last 5 years than you were just 5 years ago. Okay. And then the incentives need to end. Okay. We had a study here in Fargo, and even the people that came in and did the study for us, the consultants that we paid, said we need to stop doing the new home abatement. It's inflating the market, which is harming young families. And that's why you see over 60% of people living in apartments and 40% of people living in the homes that they own. So less government, not more, less roundtables, not more. Get out of the way, and you'll see housing get back to normal. And I know it's counterintuitive because we all want the government to do something, right? Well, in many cases, doing something for no reason is worse than not doing anything at all. And it happens a lot. All right, 701-293-9000. Email studio@WDAYradionow.com. Send me an email, give us a phone call. Tell me what you think about housing here in the city of Fargo. And when we get back from the break, Jacob, we will talk with Charley Johnson and a member of the Dome Authority about this new project and the vote on December 5th. We'll see you then.
It ain't me. It ain't me. I ain't no senator song. It ain't me. It ain't me. I ain't no fortunate one.
Fevig Oil and Propane, saluting and honoring all our men and women in uniform, past, present, and future. God bless you, and thank you for all you have done and do. It is the soldier. It is the soldier, not the minister, who has given us freedom of religion. It is the soldier, not the reporter, who gives us freedom of the press. It is the soldier, not the poet, who gives us freedom of speech. It is the soldier, not the campus organizer, who gives us freedom to protest. It is the soldier, not the lawyer, who has given us the right to a fair trial. It is the soldier, not the politician, who has given us the right to vote. It is the soldier who salutes the flag, who serves beneath the flag, and whose coffin is draped by the flag, who allows the protester to burn the flag. Copyright Charles M. Province.
Get ready for a heartwarming experience with Legacy Plumbing and Heating. At Legacy, our mission is simple: to provide the best plumbing and heating experience in town, while also being dedicated to serving our community.
You can make a difference today by nominating a family in need for a brand new furnace thanks to Legacy Plumbing and Heating with the Warm Heart, Warm Home Initiative. Visit WDAYradionow.com today and nominate someone in need.
Remember, life flows better with Legacy. Join us in spreading warmth and love this season of giving.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn more.
Our daughter Jessie loves playing detective.
A clue.
But since we discovered she has sensitive skin, we've been playing detective too.
We thought the problem was our puppy.
But it was actually our old detergent.
Aha.
So we switched to Tide Free and Gentle. Tide cleans better than the leading competitive free detergent, and it doesn't leave behind irritating residues.
Plus, Tide Free and Gentle has no dyes or perfumes, so it's gentle on her skin.
Case closed.
If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Free and Gentle.
This is Tuesdays with Tony on WDAY Radio.
Welcome back to Tuesdays with Tony. I'm your host, Tony Gehrig. I am joined here, Charley Johnson, President and CEO of the FM Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Hey, Tony.
We have Dave. Hello. We have Dave Supis, who is on the Dome Authority. I said your last name correct, yeah?
Yes.
Supis, okay. Yeah. And Tim, I know you called in. Give it a minute. Let's start the conversation before we start jumping into phone calls, okay? So I'm going to jump right into Charley first here. Charley, I think you're good at your job. Okay, I think most people think.
Thank you, sir.
I think
I appreciate that.
Most people think that you are good at your job. Unfortunately, in my opinion, in this scenario for this project, I believe that's detrimental to the city of Fargo. Okay, and we're gonna drill down with questions about why I believe that. But before we get into that and have Dave talk to us as well, I kind of want to talk about your involvement with the project. Obviously, you have an interest in this.
Of course we do.
Of course we
do. Yeah.
So how would you describe the Visitors Bureau? Is it like a quasi-government agency? Is it a...
You know, I've used that phrase. Not sure I know exactly what that means. But the fact is we're not tied to any particular city, but we are supported by the existing 3% lodging tax from all 3 of our communities here. So Fargo, Moorhead, and West Fargo collect a 3% lodging tax, and they contract with us to market the community as a whole. That's basically what we do.
So the contract basically says you get that 3%.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. And
So-
this has been in place since long before. This was established in 1981,
Sure.
I think. Yeah.
But you are a private business. Are you are you for profit?
No. We're
Okay.
not. We're a 501c6.
Okay.
And as such, to get to where I think you're going here, we are funded by tax dollars. So
You very wise man.
Yes, as a leader of that organization, anyone who works in our organization, we're prohibited from advocating.
Question number 2
for a yes or a no vote, right?
Yep.
We can't advocate for a yes or a no vote. We can certainly advocate for people to vote. We think people should vote.
Yep.
Do your civic duty.
Yep.
And we can provide information that we deem to be factual or based on facts, which is, based on economic impact studies we've done, not too far in the past, actually.
Yeah, it's 2017 or something like that.
2018 to 2020, we did like 21 events.
Okay.
He did it in conjunction with the Fargodome at the time.
Yep.
But we split the cost of it, but partly because we wanted to do some events that weren't at the Fargodome.
Sure.
Obviously, we had, we're very interested in things at the Fargodome, but we wanted to know what meetings would produce. We did Big Iron, we did stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a really pretty good idea of what kind of spending visitors do when they're in our community, and that's where we're at. And again, like I said, I'm not advocating for this project, but it would be disingenuous of me to you to say I haven't been asking for additional meeting space since like 6 months after I got on the job here in 2012, because it was pretty easy to identify the fact that we were at a competitive disadvantage regionally and certainly nationally.
Do you think you're pushing the line?
I don't know.
I guess it's subjective,
It's
right?
it's a subjective line. I'd have to lie to say that I hadn't supported the idea of additional meeting space. I don't care where it goes, and I've always said that.
Right.
I've always said that give me a project where we can put larger meetings, and that'll be great. That'll be great.
And we'll talk about the location here coming up, because this is like my least favorite location. Nothing against the Dome, Dave. And the reason I bring it up, Charlie, is because when I see the ads that are coming through on my social media, and when I see you in public, when I hear you on the radio, you have not one negative word for this project, right? And so it would seem to me, and I think an objective viewer or listener, that you are advocating for it. And why wouldn't you? Because if we increase the hotel tax, does that go directly to you? Or do you get a benefit from that? Do you get an increase in your budget if this vote passes? No. Do you get an increase in your budget?
This will not go. No, this money would go. The extra 3 cents in the lodging tax would not go to us. It would go back to the city, and it would go strictly to whatever bonds. I assume they're going to bond this if they build it, right? That's the way things work.
Yes.
So
they would have to.
The 3 cents would go to help retire the bonds for this project. We will continue to operate on the existing 3 cents.
That's good to hear, and I did not know that, so I'm glad you clarified.
Well, thank you
that.
for asking that,
Okay,
because
good.
I didn't. I assumed everybody knew that. That was really stupid.
You can't assume what I know. Come on, man.
I mean,
I'm on the fly here.
Incrementally, when the hotels do well, then our budget goes up.
Sure,
but
if there's
again,
more people.
we're not for profit, and everything we do is aimed at marketing the city in some fashion.
Sure.
And we've expanded. We're not just heads and beds anymore, which is what people used to say. I mean, obviously we're funded by the lodging tax, but there's so much more to making the city attractive to people to visit that it's not just that so much anymore.
All right, 701-293-9000. Email studio@WDAYradionow.com. Charlie, I'll let you off the hook a little bit here and tell Tim you're on the phone. You have a question for us?
I have a comment and a question.
Go for it.
This is a rigged election. This is an unfair election. And the reason for that is elections like this should be held at regular municipal election time. And also, there's no polling place in South Fargo where the support for this, I believe, is weaker. So all of the election sites are in the north half of Fargo. For those two reasons, this election is rigged. It is. It's rigged.
Okay. So do you have
my question?
Go ahead. Yep.
My question is, why should middle-class taxpayers pay for a convention center they will never get to use? I'm 70 years old, and they'll probably won't even ever let me inside of it. And yet I have to pay for this out of my sales taxes.
Okay.
This is a ripoff for the citizens.
Okay, Tim. Yep. Thank you for your phone call, guys. That's pretty much the whole point of the show. So, we'll if you don't mind, we'll walk through it. If you don't mind that at all. And by the way, I forgot to mention, you guys, you are on camera. For you listening, you can watch us on Facebook or on YouTube as well, or you can catch the episodes on the archive if you miss the show. So just you guys know you're on, and during commercials the mics come off and they can't hear you, but they can still see you.
Whoops.
So, yeah, you got some right there. All right. But okay, let's jump to what he said though first about the timing of the election. I mean, I don't know if it's rigged. I don't know if I'd use those terms. It seems suspicious that it would be on December 5th on an off-year election in North Fargo. Is that true?
There are 3 polling places.
Okay.
The Dome, the Civic Center downtown.
Yeah.
There is one on 13th Avenue South at the Ramada.
Okay.
I don't. You want Charley's honest opinion?
Let's do it.
I wish there was one farther south. I was hoping they would have engaged like the Shields Arena.
Is there a reason not? Was it the cost or what?
I don't know. Well, here's one thing. The city is running this election all by itself.
Not the county?
The county can't help because they're in the throes of doing something that's annual or biannual, fixing their machines. Don't ask me. I don't know the detail. But they had to
machines
send
are
all
getting recalibrated.
Yeah, they have to.
So what are they using?
Paper ballot.
It's going to be,
and it's going to be hand counted.
Yes.
Hand counted paper ballot run by the Fargo City Auditor. Yes.
Interesting. I don't know the last time they ran an election.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. And then, to speak to the timing of it, December 5th, as this unfolded originally, from a calendar standpoint, we were looking at the August timeframe. And as we got to doing the work as far as bringing everything together, bringing the models together, producing everything, it got pushed out to September, then October. And it was at that point that we learned that, we learned that the machines were going in for calibration at the Cass County, and then we switched over to the paper ballot and then moved to December 5th. And interesting enough, the December 5th vote is 33 years, almost to the date to which the original vote was in the first vote for sales tax for the Fargodome.
Yeah.
Who was part of the vote to make that the date?
It was the committee that went through the exercise of looking at it and honing in on. It wasn't like December date. It was just as you move towards what can you do with all these other items that we have out there. It kind of started moving the date, and then we landed on the 5th.
Does it concern you that a lot of people go south for the winter? I mean, my parents are that way. They lived here for 50 years, and then now that they winter in Arizona.
A little bit.
And it also concerns me a lot because by and large, I'm not saying all, but I think by and large, an older crowd is more fiscally conservative. Okay, by and large, just that's how they vote. Okay, a lot of those people aren't here on December 5th of this year. Right?
I could speak to that. That wasn't part of the strategy of picking the date.
But that's what happened.
That's what happened, yeah.
Yeah, there was no strategy saying...
was there a conversation about it, though, at least?
I
don't recall that particular thing coming up, but what Dave says is true. The vote was supposed to happen. We were talking about doing it in July.
I don't like that a lot.
This has been under discussion for so long.
Oh, trust me. When I ran for commissioner the first time in 2012,
right,
this was coming up.
Right,
okay?
We've been meeting about this forever, and it just kept getting pushed back. And obviously, I mean, if it hadn't been for the COVID shutdown, this vote would have happened a year, maybe 2 years ago.
And
things just get,
which is unfortunate because just as an aside, like separate from the discussion altogether, if this was going to happen, it should have happened 2-3 years ago when interest rates were at 2%.
That would have been great.
Very nice.
Because now it's going to be 7-8%.
Right.
And you're talking a $140 million project is going to be $350 million over 30 years.
Yeah. And if I may, if we kind of back this up chronologically, we actually started this process at the Fargodome Authority, studying it through a series of studies in 2014.
I bet you did.
And started working through different...
you wanted the project.
Well, we wanted to understand it. We wanted to understand it in its full context, and we stumbled along the way, learning things as we went through it, and then made progress to kind of identify down to 3 spots, which you had mentioned earlier. Came up with this solution right here with the idea of in 2020 to bring it to the commission to have that discussion. We'll get it on the ballots.
All right, guys. We have another phone call.
Absentee voting is available, by the way, for this, for sure.
That's good.
There's no early voting in an election like this, but there is absentee voting.
That's
and
important.
Then there's a link on the Fargo website that will lead you to get an application.
That's a good point, Charlie. All right, Jim, you are on the phone. Do you have a question for the gentleman here today?
I'm just curious as to why, the Fargodome makes a profit, so why can't they take out a loan, just like a couple loans, just like a normal business would for improvements?
Okay, good question. Go ahead.
Maybe I can speak to that. Historically, the Dome, from a net operating income, if you will, it generates roughly $100,000 to $300,000 a year. It's not a profit center in the fact that it generates millions upon millions of dollars. Its top-end revenues is roughly $3 million plus or minus, and it drops roughly $100,000 to $400,000 to the bottom line from an operating standpoint. To do a project of this magnitude, you couldn't go to the bank and get a loan.
So just to be clear, you make $3 million a year, and you net $200,000.
Yeah, top-end revenues are roughly $3 million.
$3 million a year.
$3 million.
That'd be more than
$3.5 million. Yeah, that's
with the beer sales and everything.
That's helped. That's helped on both the top and the net, but it's not hundreds of millions of dollars.
Sure, I was thinking something like 5 or 10 or something like that. That's what my guess. I had no idea. I guess.
Yeah.
It depends on it varies from year to year, obviously, depending on the events. So kind of the crux of the matter of this, and maybe I'm jumping ahead of you.
You're fine. We'll jump all over the place.
But the reason, first of all, organizations like the Commission and Visitors Bureau, the Chamber of Commerce, the EDC, whatever, all of those organizations, but I'll speak specifically for my own now. We have these fancy mission statements, right?
Yep.
Don't ask me to quote mine by memory. But our basic mission and the way our staff looks at this is whatever we do is to make the community better by bringing people into the community with their money.
And we're going to talk about that, Charlie. We got to go to break here.
Okay.
Hard break at the bottom of the hour.
I saw you counting. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So
we'll come back to that.
Trying to help.
Yeah,
But
okay.
I appreciate that, and that's why I said I think you're good at your job. But in this particular scenario,
well, I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you how this might help.
All right, 701-293-9000. Email studio@wdayradionow.com. Taking a break. We'll come back with Charlie Johnson and David Supa after the break.
Oh, can you imagine a stress-free Sunday with family, friends, fun, and food? You can have it when you make Barron's your new Sunday brunch headquarters. Experience a brunch like nowhere else. Your kids will love the customizable waffle bar, fresh scrambled eggs, thick-cut bacon, and much more. Plus, while Mama sips on a mimosa, you can wear out the kids in the arcade at Kingpins.
For a stress-free Sunday, mention My Brunch Headquarters and receive 20% off brunch at Barron's. Make your Sunday stress-free, filled with great food, no cleanup, and most importantly, where family, friends, fun, and food come together for brunch at Barron's. Go to brunchatbarons.com. Again, brunch at BARONS.com. And don't forget to mention My Brunch Headquarters for 20% off and experience your stress-free Sunday at brunchatbarons.com.
Brunch at Barron's, located inside Kingpins off I-29 and 52nd Avenue South in Fargo.
Hello from the WDAY News Center. I'm Ty Schoner to your news update. Several garage units destroyed in an overnight fire at a Fargo apartment complex. That fire breaking out Monday just before midnight at an apartment complex along 42nd Street South, continuing to burn into the early morning hours of Tuesday. Fire crews called to the scene and began working to extinguish the flames. They were eventually able to get it under control. Police say they're not sure yet if this fire is connected to a series of ongoing arsons in the Fargo area. Governor Doug Burgum not making a list of candidates who qualified for a spot on the stage in the third Republican presidential primary debate starting tomorrow in Miami. However, Burgum posting on X, formerly known as Twitter, that skipping the debate's not going to stop his campaign. Burgum reached the donor threshold and for 2 early voting state polls as well in Iowa and New Hampshire, but did not reach the 4% polling threshold in one national poll. Last week, Burgum said he also made the ballot in Florida. And Minnesota's Attorney General asking Minnesotans to share stories of social media addiction protection of children and teens across the state. The call comes as Keith Ellison joined a coalition of 42 attorneys general in a lawsuit against Meta, alleging the company knowingly created addictive features and placed them on Facebook and Instagram. Ellison says the shared stories will help attorneys general's offices understand the impact of social media addiction. I'm Ty Schoenert with WDAY and WDAYRadioNow.com. First with the news when you need to know.
Cloudy skies for this afternoon. A few light sprinkles are possible. That could be in the form of freezing drizzle and snow mixture in the far northern valley. Highs today in the low 40s with cooler weather off to the north, and southeast winds will be blowing at 10 to 25. Cloudy and a low near 30 tonight, and for Wednesday, partly cloudy skies. It will be breezy with the wind switching from the southwest to the northwest, 10 to 25, with highs in the mid to upper 40s. From the WDAY Skywatch Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
This is Tuesdays with Tony Gehrig.
Welcome back to Tuesdays with Tony. I'm your host, Tony Gehrig. I'm here with Charlie Johnson. He's the president and CEO of the FM Convention Visitors Bureau. That's a mouthful. What's a better way to say it?
It is. CVB works.
CVB?
CVB, yeah.
I'll write that down.
Yeah. We are a destination marketing organization.
All right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And Dave Supas, who is on the Fargodome Authority. All right. Let's do the phone call first. I want to jump in after the phone call up and ask you why this is good for taxpayers. And we'll just start there because I've got 16 different things just on that question. So,
okay.
Rich, why don't you go with your question first?
Yeah, I was just wondering if it's such needed in Fargo, why wouldn't private industry tackle this problem?
It's a very good question. Go ahead, guys.
Well, from the Fargodome standpoint, if financially it doesn't have the engine, or the revenue side to build a $140 million facility. So when you get into large facilities such as this, or public facilities, you look towards the different not revenue opportunities, but sales tax options that are out there, and that's how you go through the process of discovering if you can do it or if you can't do it.
And I think this comes up a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, it comes up a lot.
Good.
Why doesn't private industry do it? And no one's going to like the answer, but the answer is that think how many places in the country do you know that where private industry builds a convention center or an arena? I can think of maybe Las Vegas,
New York, maybe
Florida. Yeah, maybe. But I would also guess that in most of those places it's somehow subsidized by tax dollars because they are not standalone profitable, which brings us back to the crux of where does the benefit come from. And when you're ready to talk about that, let us know.
Hey, Rich, thank you for your phone call and your question. That's my point, guys. Is there any convention center in the United States of America that makes $1?
I think the Fargodome is extremely unique.
No,
I think it's extreme. Oh, it's not a convention center.
Convention centers, right?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think so.
There are not.
I don't think so.
So the City of Fargo did.
I'd be
study.
surprised.
I know that they don't, because in 2017, when I was a commissioner, we had a study, and the main crux of the study was here's 15 that are similar to the City of Fargo. They looked at South Dakota, they looked at other areas, and they tried to get socioeconomic matchups. They tried to get populations that were close to our metro, and then they showed us those best operated 15 in that area. Okay, then they showed us the rest, big cities, small cities, whatever, and all of them had numbers below them that were red with a dash, and it said $2 million, whatever, dollars a year in the negative. So what I said to them was, we're gonna dump money into something that isn't going to make any money. Yes, you're going to say it's good for it's a loss leader, right? It brings people to Fargo. They end up staying in a hotel. They end up buying food. Fine, guys. But here's the question. How does that benefit me or my family? Like, to me, I don't own a restaurant. I don't own a hotel. But I will be paying higher taxes. And if I ever want to take my kid to a hotel for a night so he can play at the pool there, I'm paying more in that tax while I'm paying more for the toys I bought for his birthday party with another sales tax. So how does this benefit the average taxpayer? And Jim, we'll get you in here in just a minute.
Well, first of all, the Fargodome, the surveys that were done by HVS, remember those initially when this was done, and they've updated it. They forecast that once it's up and running, and there's a 3 to 5 year ramp up for a facility like this. I think everybody understands that.
Yes.
Yeah. So once it's up and running, this facility would fall somewhere in the range of losing $100,000 to $200,000 a year to
that's pretty razor thin.
to making $100,000 to $200,000 a year.
I'll eat my shoe if it makes $1 in the first.
Did
10
you
years.
write that down?
No,
David?
no.
David, write that down.
I think that you have to take.
Do we get to pick the shoe?
That's one of my shoes. Yeah.
That's the model that's being built is that it would be the dome and the convention center, so you have a stabilized entity that of the Fargodome blended with the convention center.
I'm sorry, Dave, but that frustrates me even more because now you have an asset the city has that no one thought was going to make money. By the way, when it was built, it was the same conversation: how much we're going to lose, but is it worth it with economic development? Right?
Yep.
It's been a big surprise.
Turns out it's making a few bucks. You know, $200,000, $3,000 a year. Not going to buy a bridge for that, but it's some money and we're not losing anything. That's great. Fantastic.
For 31 years, it has maintained itself.
Fantastic. Mm-hmm. So now we're going to connect a building to it and tell people it's good for them, and then now both buildings are going to lose money, most likely. We went from having one building that actually made something to now two buildings put together that we have to pay $300 million for.
No, 140 million.
No.
Well, you're talking
that's
about
what the bond is.
The life of the bond.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Sure.
I mean, and that's the real number. The 140 is just to get started, and that's the down money. It's a mortgage. It's just like your house.
Yeah, I don't want to think about how much I've paid for my house.
Exactly. Yeah. I could tell you. I got a calculator here. That's why I figured out the $350 million. So that's the frustrating part for a lot of people is you're taking an asset that we have that's making money, and you're going to make it lose money, but you get this brand new building that's going to also lose money. That's frustrating. And they should be separate conversations, by the way.
Well, it's hard to draw a straight line. I understand that. It's hard to draw a straight line from visitor spending to you. Maybe.
Yes, it is.
And your career is somewhat unique. Anyway, I mean, you work for the government basically, except for what you get paid here. I assume they pay you, right? Great.
No, it's a hobby.
Wow.
Coffee.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I don't drink coffee.
Good to know. So it's hard to draw a straight line. Certainly not to you, and it's also hard for some people to draw a straight line to, let's say, a plumber or an electrician or whatever.
Sure.
But the fact is. And again, I'm advocating for visitor spending.
Just say yes.
I'm
Try
not
to say yes on the vote. Just say it.
I
know you want to.
I want you to vote, but I want you to make an informed decision.
And that's what we're doing today.
And what I'm saying is the money that is spent here. So Shania Twain showed up in Fargo on Sunday night. I know this acutely because I chauffeured my daughter, my granddaughters, and my daughter-in-law to the show and back.
I heard it was a good show.
Traffic stopped at Main Avenue. I had to get off at Main Avenue and go through town. People loved it. And then just a moment ago, a few minutes before I came here, I got a call from a friend of mine who said, holy cow, he says, I had some Australian business people in town.
Wow.
This is true.
Sure.
On Sunday night, he said, we couldn't get food anywhere. Downtown was electric with people spending money.
Sure.
So this is where the spending comes from. So Shania Twain... I called Rob before I came over here. I said, how many people did you have there? And he says, somewhere north of 18,000 people. Sure. And if each of them spent $125 in town, which is way below what we would anticipate, it's below what we saw for Pink, because we tested that one the first time she was here.
Okay, Charlie.
It's $1.25 million in spending. That money, but I just want to make sure you can see the line where it goes. Because people,
and I hear you, but you're charging me so that another industry can make more money. It doesn't.
But I'm trying to draw the line.
It hurts me.
Let me finish. I'm trying to draw the line to people. So the people, where are they spending their money downtown? They're spending it at, and this is for any kind of visitor, right? I just happen to use Shania Twain as an example because I'm frankly more interested in conferences. But when people come to town, they spend their money. So if they spend their money at Mezzaluna or Maxwell's in West Fargo or somewhere else in Fargo. They're eating at all of the great restaurants we have all around town, Crave, whatever. So what do those restaurants have to do? They have to hire people. If they're busy, they hire people. Those people get paid. What do restaurants have to do to their buildings? Well, they have to do maintenance. So they have to hire electricians and plumbers. So if they stay in business and do well, they are going to be hiring people in the community. The people who work at those restaurants, I don't know about you, Tony, but I have electricians and plumbers come to my house sometimes. Mm-hmm. So I have to spend the money on those people.
Sure.
So there is a way for this. If you think about it, this is money that funnels through the whole community ultimately. And the thing that bothers me the most is when I see somebody say, all this money is going to go to the rich people. I'm like, what are you talking about?
I think it's because it's hard for the...
I mean, you know what I'm saying.
You know exactly
you
what you're
don't
saying,
think rich people are getting money from
but
this.
At the same time, I know that these government-subsidized buildings harm small businesses. For example, any convention space in South Fargo that's privately owned is going to get crushed by this North Side Convention Center. They're probably going to operate at a loss. They're probably going to offer a better location for a cheaper price because they have no desire or need to make a profit. It happens all the time. Courts Plus put 4 small gyms out of business in just their area. Okay, there was one in the strip mall. There was one on 32nd Avenue. There was 4 of them in that local area. When the city took over, when the subs took over Courts Plus, they're now $5 million in debt, probably more at this point. That's an older number. They did a bunch of renos, and they offered a membership for the same or less price than it would cost you to go to just a walk-in gym that just has treadmills and dumbbells, right? So that's what I'm saying is this publicly owned building doesn't need or require to make any money. Now, we have a phone call here. I want to get to before we go to the break. Go ahead.
Just one response to that is I would submit to you, Tony, that from where I sit for the last 10 years, the existing meeting spaces in this community are getting crushed because they can't handle the business we could bring them.
Okay. All right, gym number 1. If you were the first gym, you go ahead with for Charley.
Was that me?
Yes, let's go with you.
I don't know how Jim. Which one? How do they know?
Gyms, I don't know.
I'm a return caller, Jim. So my question is, the Shields Arena has really cashed in on the NCAA hockey tournament, and I'm always wondering why the Fargodome doesn't try and get on the basketball side of things. I don't know if maybe they don't meet the requirements, or if that's the case, could they host a regional here after this expansion and on updates to host a regional basketball for the NCAA March Madness?
Thanks, gym number 1. What do you guys think?
Yeah, and I can answer that. I know from the NCAA, the regional tournaments, those are bid tournaments. It's something that could be looked at, and I would have to yield to Rob Sobolik, general manager, for the finer details on that. But it is something that has been discussed and looked at.
You'd also have to yield to NDSU because they have to be involved in the bidding process. Right. And our sports department works with NDSU a lot on that kind of stuff, and we have conversations ongoing with Matt Larson and his team up at NDSU about what tournaments we could bring to town.
You're going to take any tournament that comes your way, right?
We will help with anything they want to do, and we have encouraged them to do more.
Exactly.
I'm not, and he would know that.
Gym number 2, we've got about a minute and a half, if you could.
Okay, so quickly. First of all, I don't believe in trickle-down economics, and it's been disproven so often that it's hard to say. But secondly, even that this Rodenmeyer, who's like one of the guys who's really pushing for this, he works for DNS Beverages. He said in his article, he said, yeah, I want this to go through. So I sell beverages to the Dome, and I'll make more money. I mean, at least he's honest about it. Thirdly, why invest any money in that old Dome? We've got a civic center down there that has to be heated, has to be cooled, and it sits empty year-round. Tear that thing down, build your convention centers down there, close to the downtown. Where are the restaurants and the businesses to support that? Because there's really nothing up on that. There's a Buffalo Wild Wings. That's not going to support that convention center. I think you guys are in the wrong place with this whole idea.
Okay, so there's a lot there. But let's talk about the location because...
We got 25 seconds.
Yeah, we'll be all fine. Yeah, okay, other side of the break. That's fine. I always thought the Shields Arena, that area, because it's kind of a wide open blank slate.
I'm happy to discuss that when we come back.
Okay, very good.
I'll give you the long litany of the history of
short
searching.
litany.
Yeah.
Downtown, I think, was a non-starter. You couldn't get things down there. Okay. Anyway, if you want to be part of the show, 701-293-9000. Email studio@WDAYradionow.com. Thanks for all the callers so far. You can call in for the last segment here on the other side of the break.
Then you gotta teach about freedom. You gotta win it. Gotta put yourself smack dab in it.
With Jiffy Lube Multicare, it's our job to make car care make sense. With personalized service reviews that swap the car talk for straight talk, so you know what your car is telling you and what to do about it. Where highly trained service technicians have your back, helping you take care of the small stuff before it becomes big stuff. Plus a full range of services from Pennzoil oil changes to tires, brakes, batteries, and more. We've got what your car needs, so you're ready for whatever's next. Putting you in the driver's seat of car care, that's a job for Jiffy.
Jiffy Lube, 620 Dakota Avenue, Wapaton.
1 in 4 women and 1 in 10 men experience sexual violence, physical violence, and or stalking by an intimate partner in their lifetime. As the only crisis center in our community, Rape and Abuse Crisis Center is here for you 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. We believe survivors shouldn't have to pay for healing, so victim services are free and confidential. Every person has a right to live free of violence. Talk to someone today at 1-800-344-7273. Rape and Abuse Crisis Center, Fargo.
It's that time of year. The kids are back in school, and it won't be long before they're bringing home more than just homework. Colds, flu, and viruses are making their rounds, along with miserable seasonal allergies. I'm Martin Hoke, and I invented Navage, the nose cleaner with powered suction. Navage pulls saline in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out the other nostril, flushing out allergens, mucus, and germs. Navage helps provide natural, immediate relief. Listen to the words of Michelle, a verified Navage user. I've had problems for as long as I can remember and finally found this wonderful product. What a difference it has made. I am so excited about this. I tell everyone, thank you, unquote. This cold and flu season, join nearly 4 million people and experience how Navage can help you breathe better, snore less, and feel healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, and Navage.com. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life.
Tuesdays with Tony on 970 and 93.1 WDAY.
Stuck in my headset. If you're watching on Facebook, you just saw that. My headset attacked me. All right, last segment here. We're going to get right to it because I have a few different things here. On the website that's advocating for this, which is not you guys, you gentlemen here, they talk about how they're not going to have events if there's like an NDSU football game. Isn't that a big deal? Like a Saturday, in the fall, like that could be a great opportunity for this building to actually make a buck.
Right.
And you're going to say no to that, big thing?
It'll be making a buck when the game's there, by the way. Each one of those brings in about $500,000 in out-of-town spending. So
the Dome will.
Yeah. Well, no. Well,
the convention center.
No. Yeah, exactly. But it's, we have to think of it as all one building. So we won't be able to do a conference on a game day. We could do a conference that started on Sunday, though. They can turn it around that fast. And there aren't that many conferences. There are a few that want to go on Saturday, but a lot of them will start on a Sunday and go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
So there's not going to be a parking ramp in your near future.
The project is parking neutral, as it is now, and
how it covers what 200 spots?
They're adding some spots on the west side.
Okay.
So they made sure it was parking neutral.
Okay, great.
If someone wanted to build a hotel there ultimately, which could happen, it's not part of the project, then they would have to address a parking issue.
Sure. Okay, great. All right, we had a phone call asking about the location. That's a question everybody has.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of putting it down by the Shields Arena. I think it's a blank slate. I think you could do a lot of good things out there. A lot of people are talking about downtown. I see the upside, but I definitely see the downside. How are you going to get tractors downtown with semis and all type of things? That would be a mess if you had all those cars down there. And where are you going to park?
Yeah.
You guys have obviously
there's parking downtown now, but that's the least of the problems.
We paid for Charley.
Yeah.
But the Dome, okay, it makes a lot of sense because of why?
It's where the political will was, first of all, and I could give you we could do another hour about all the different locations we looked at, and I would, as I started at the beginning, I'm in favor of meeting space. I'm not advocating this particular vote. I just say we need to have meeting space somewhere. We looked at the Shields Arena.
Sure.
Tried to get a deal going between Fargo and West Fargo. We actually had a meeting about that with Rich Mattern and a couple other people. Just couldn't make it work. Couldn't get them together. It would have been great because it would sit in Fargo, but right across the street's West Fargo, right on that corner. Now I think the Science Museum's going to go there, which is great.
Sure.
Downtown, there just wasn't a place to put it. There was no
the Civic isn't big enough. You can. Get rid of that.
That spot is not big enough to accommodate a standalone convention center.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it'd be a shame to just demolish that building as well. They do have events there, by the way. It's like is it like $200 a year or something like that? Not huge events, but
that's a stretch. I think last I heard, Sanford was renting it out for some training. So that build. This is the thing you don't. From a dome standpoint, someone made reference to the Civic and the Dome. Yeah, it's 30 years old. If you don't do something with the Dome, it's going to end up like the Civic. It's going to be unusable and unfixable.
Sure. So let's talk about that. So the vote is for a project, right? I think a lot of people, myself included in this, are miffed that it's not a 2-question ballot in July. No, I'm just a 2-question ballot.
Miffed twice.
I'm double miffed. Okay. One, do you want to renovate the dome for, what was it, 90? Did you say?
Yep,
90 million?
90 million.
2, do you want to have a convention center for 50 whatever $million on top of that 140 would be? I think you would have more people vote for the dome than you would for the convention center. As it sits currently, you have to pick both or none. Do you think that was a mistake?
No, I think where we sit right now with the Fargodome and the convention center and all the work that we've done, that put in as a package was the right way to go forward with it. And I want to just circle back to the conversation on location. One of the things that was looked at when you looked at South Fargo, the Civic Center, or downtown, and the Fargodome is there is the Fargodome with 90,000 square feet of floor space, and then you add the convention center, which you have another 50,000 or 45,000 square feet of convention space in there. You can now bring in, for example, like an egg show where they can have the tractors on the floor of the Fargodome, and you can have the breakout conferences in the convention. So you have a much bigger platform in which to have these shows on. So that was looked at too. And then you also have the staffing side of things, is to add on the convention center to the Fargodome.
Yeah.
The adding of the human resources isn't as significant than it would be if you had a standalone facility out there. So you have more efficiencies along with that.
I think a lot of people don't know that the staff there is now city employees.
Yes, correct.
In the past, it wasn't.
Yeah, that happened.
You guys had your own
5 or 6 years ago, right?
Yes.
Not that long. What?
Yeah,
I was a commissioner when that happened.
Yeah.
Well, things that I think happened 2 years ago actually happened 10 years ago. So I think, the older you get, the faster it goes.
Maybe. Go ahead.
And the idea of splitting the vote, certainly that, people talked about that. From a standpoint of a person who hopes there's meeting space someday in this community, not necessarily this.
Right.
If they had done that and the convention space had failed, we'd have been back to looking for something else. So,
and I think, just pragmatically, if you're on the Dome Authority, you're going to push for it to be up at the Dome. I get it. That's fine.
I'm in favor. One of the other things, as far as we talk about, how does this benefit me from the standpoint of the sales tax, or if I have to pay the sales tax, how does it benefit me if I'm not using the facility? There's not, as Charlie said, there's not a straight line how that comes down to. One of the things you look at too is if this project is $140 million and the Fargodome itself and the permanent fund has $30 million that is thrown in, is that the cost drops down to $110 million. Mm-hmm. There's not absolute hard evidence out there, but roughly 40 to 55% of the sales tax generated in Fargo comes from non-local.
Sure.
That means outside of Fargo.
I pay a lot of sales tax in Fargo, and I live in Moorhead.
Right. So when you start breaking it down, if you run the numbers and you take a kind of a look at how this plays out on this end, is that from a project standpoint, is that the local populace, that be Fargonians, would pay roughly 50% of this entire cost.
I think the heartburn, this is the last point I'll make, you guys have the last word and we'll get out of here. The heartburn that we have is ultimately if we took this half-cent or this quarter-cent sales tax, apply it towards special assessments for the next 30 years, we wouldn't have special assessments anymore. It's how you use the dollars, right? Is this the best use of our tax dollars to benefit me directly? I can draw a straight line between assessments and my home and my family and everyone else I know in the city of Fargo. If we had a quarter-cent sales tax where people came in, spent their money, then it would help to lower my special assessment or get rid of them completely. I think that would be a huge deal. Anyway, you guys have last word, but you got about a minute.
I knew you were going to get to special assessments.
Not Charlie. We've known each other for a while.
That's not. That I get what you're saying completely. That's not really part of this discussion, and no one has actually suggested doing a sales tax for that in this community. Maybe you did.
I did.
Yes, of course you did. Yeah. But that's not really part of this debate.
I could see why you wouldn't want it to be.
Well, of course. Hey, we all face those taxes. There's no good time to ask for any kind of a tax increase.
Exactly.
You know that. I know that. Dave Supas knows that. Everybody knows that.
Yep.
But this is why people get to decide.
And that's the best part about it. We're getting a vote.
Yes,
and whether you like the timing or not, you get to vote if you want.
And you can and again, a reminder: go to the City of Fargo website. You can find an absentee ballot application, and they'll mail it to you. So that's the thing. And again, the reason anyone would advocate for a project like this is because it's going to bring more spending into the community. You know, your community is either. If you're standing still, you're not really standing still. If you think of yourself competing with other communities, which I'm sorry, I do, you know, when it comes to finding convention space and attractions.
Sure.
If you're standing still, you're not really standing still because all the other communities are constantly doing things like
Horse
this.
is coming for us. All right, guys. Charley Johnson of the, what was it? CVB? Is that what
CVB, yes.
All right. And David Supa, who's on the Fargodome Authority. Thanks, gentlemen, for the spirited conversation, and I'm sure we'll talk after the vote.
Thanks for having us.
All right, guys. Have a good day.
Thank you.
All right, that's my show for Tuesdays with Tony on this episode. Next week we'll do something different. We'll see you then.
Soybeans trading higher at midday. This is the American Ag Network of Jesse.